Hello, and welcome back to DLA Alternative. It's your boy Brandon. How is everyone doing? We're going to jump right into this one, but keep in mind that this is part one of many, because if you saw the thumbnail and saw the title, yes, we are going to go over the Karen Wheeler poster theory. We're going to go over this theory thoroughly, okay? And the reason being is because the original theory is that everyone thinks the season 4 poster with Karen Wheeler, that she even had one originally, was weird. But the house on there was the Creel house. Everybody knows that everyone's poster kind of associated with where they were at in that season or where they ended up being. Well, my opinion, I don't think she is Alice Creel because I've been analyzing this show for a while, and my other theory goes against that, but that's not the point. I've analyzed Karen somewhat a little bit, but there's not a lot that connects to Alice whatsoever. So this does not mean that this theory, our Karen Wheeler poster theory, is going to be that she is Alice Creel. That's not what this is. What this is figuring out who Karen Wheeler could be, and is she the loving mother that we know she is, or is there other things that we don't know about her? And that's why we're going to break this down from season 1, episode 1, to the very last episode of season 4. She's not in every episode, so we get lucky with that. However, she is in a lot of season 1, and I think almost every episode of season 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. But when we see her, it's extremely important to the original theory and this theory. So if the original theory ends up being proven from us breaking this down, then us together and the subscribers, thank you. All of the new subscribers, keep subscribing, and the new ones can all help break this down, and we can prove this together. Sound fun? I think it sounds fun. So let's get right into it. The main thing I want to talk about is Karen in episode 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and the times we see her, break down exactly what she could be doing, what her involvement was with those scenes, and is she actually the loving mother that we know her to be? I would hope so, but let's figure it out, right? And even if she is Alice Creel, with involving the other theory, in my opinion, she's gonna have some revenge that she's going to want to pull. I mean, look at what happened to her. If she survived that and she knows who she is or whatever, people, she's gonna want some revenge on her bro, especially if he's back that she knows that she can get to him. She's gonna want some revenge. Let's be real. Like I always say, we gotta be real with this stuff. Episode 1, we're going to basically talk about when we see Karen. The very first time we see Karen Wheeler is her opening the basement door and her ending their Dungeons and Dragons game. And when she ends that game, it's during Will's turn, when they can't find the dice to know what Will rolled, if he's going to beat the Demogorgon or if he's not. So keep that in mind during this whole entire theory that Karen was the one who ended that game. If you want to involve Dungeons and Dragons as a huge part of this, which it is, but a lot of people have theories that Dungeons and Dragons is the whole entire type of thing. So if you want to include that, she ended their game, which is extremely important, or interrupted their game, I should say, which elongated in an extreme interruption because Will vanished because of that. They ended up leaving. They ended up going home, riding their bikes, getting separated, and Will vanishes, correct? So I don't want to say she's the reason that Will vanished, but she's the reason that he left, resulting in him vanishing. So think about it like that a little bit. Think about it differently, okay? We have to think differently sometimes with theories. That's the biggest thing. I understand that there's facts and all this, but we don't know what's going to happen in season 5. So that's what the fun of these theories is they're like little games. They're little puzzles. I'm going to make a topic and we're going to try and figure it out if it could be true or not true. And that's the fun of it. So I understand that people are extremely serious about the show. I am too. But the Duffer Brothers love puzzles, and so do I. So let's make our own puzzles and theories based off of it. There's a shitload of them out there already. So let's make a shitload ourselves. So she's the reason he leaves. What about her in season 1? That's also important. When Joyce calls the next morning to ask when Will left, Karen is the one who answers the phone. So therefore, Karen is also the first one to know that Will not necessarily vanished because Joyce doesn't tell her that, but she is the first one to know that something happened involving Will. Correct? Little sus, right? So she's the one who ended their game, and she's also the very first one to know that something happened to one of the boys. Was it supposed to be Will the whole entire time? We don't know that necessarily. It could have been any of them. It just so happened that Will takes that road, so most likely Will got pulled into something he shouldn't have. And that's the main part of this theory, people, is that was Will supposed to vanish? Probably not, right? I think he got pulled into something he wasn't supposed to be involved with. However, I think Karen might have been involved with what was going on that Will got pulled into by accident, one of her son's friends, and I don't think she wanted that to happen. That's why I think she is the loving mother that we know her to be, but I think she has a little involvement about what's going on. So, with that being said, that's episode 1. That's the most important things that I can think of involving her. All right, so episode 2, the important things that I notice is that when we see Karen, it's after Will has vanished, and the biggest things about Karen is that she is very protective of her children, correct? Well, Will goes missing, and that's when we start seeing the very, very protective side of Karen, okay? After all this happens, like any mother would be. However, if she's involved with anything, she's going to be extremely, extremely protective, which she comes off like. When she talks to Mike in episode 2, and she knows Mike is an investigator, he's an explorer, okay? When she talks to Mike, the most important thing you got to keep track of is that she says, you can talk to me, you can trust me, you can tell me anything. You got to think of it like she's trying to make sure that she can get any type of info knowing what could have happened. We don't think that she tried to make Will go missing, but if she was involved, she wants to know what maybe she could do to help or as to why this is happening. She wants to know what's going on with her kids in a weird way, and that's how it comes off to me. All right? And trust me, by the end of the series, this will all make sense to you. So just be patient. We're going to break this down together. Another big thing, she specifically says she doesn't want them out after dark. Okay, and that she says that, I believe, to Nancy. She specifically says after dark. Okay? You guys are all probably like, okay, what does this matter? Any mother would say that. That's the point here, is that if she's involved, she's trying to make sure her children don't get involved with what could be going on. That's what they keep showing about Karen in those first 2 episodes, is that she's extremely, trying to be involved, but trying to keep them away from what is about to maybe happen, right? It's a little weird. So we get to episode 3, Holly Jolly, which is an extremely important episode to this theory. Okay, we see a lot of Karen in this episode. One of those scenes is when Nancy gets home late from Steve's. She walks in. She was supposed to be home by 10. Okay, if we're including times into this, that was the time she was supposed to be home. Okay, and that was, so think if Karen allowed her to go out after dark, she didn't want her out after 10. Was up waiting for Nancy, like any mother would, yes. But she was up waiting for Nancy. Right when Nancy got home, she was up there, she's talking to her, and what does she say again? she says the same thing to Mike. She wants them to talk to her and tell her what's going on. She thinks that there's more going on than they are telling her. She makes that a specific point that she wants them to tell her stuff. Okay? That's sus. That's sus. In my opinion, and in this theory, people, and it's just a theory, like I always say, and Nancy said it first to Jonathan. It's just a theory, Jonathan. So let's continue. The next time we see Karen is when she is going to Joyce's house, okay, to check on her, right? Check on her, right? So if she's involved with something, she's now the one who ended that game. She's now the first one to know that something with Will is wrong, and then goes over to investigate or check on Joyce, correct? Okay, and what does she do? She brings a casserole that she needs to cook, so she's there for a long time. That is sus, okay? That is sus if we're thinking of Karen as something is sus about Karen. Okay, that's a little funny. That all to me is a little weird how those things play out, and that's the only times we see Karen. Well, specifically right when Holly is about to go into the room and she sees the light, she's following the lights, and the Demogorgon's about to come out that wall and get her, right? Well, Joyce stops that from happening, okay, because of her paranoia. She knows Holly saw something. She asks her, while Karen is nonchalant, playing it off like nothing is wrong, and it's just Joyce's paranoia, right? Well, as soon as she starts asking Holly, Karen stops that right away. Like, she doesn't want Holly to tell her in case she saw her something. It's sus. That's another sus thing about Karen. So now that we're getting to this point, that's episodes 1 through 3. Okay, that's all we really see of Karen. That's extreme importance. The one thing I actually left out about Nancy was that she also is extremely involved with her love life, okay, which is a little weird. Okay, she's involved with the heart, okay, and she's also the mother of the heart, right? That might have some importance later on, so let's think of that too. But with all of those things, the major things we have with Karen is that she ended the D&D game during Will's turn, okay, which is extremely important. A little after 8 o'clock is what she tells Mike, all right? And then next day, after Will vanishes, Joyce calls. She's the first to know that something happened with Will. She doesn't know that he went missing because Joyce doesn't tell her. But we know that she's the first to know something about something going wrong in Hawkins, which is sus. Then you have her involvement with her family, which comes off loving and protective. Right. Well, if she's involved, she's extremely protective, which she comes off like. And that's what we get from both of her children. She wants to know what's going on. She wants them to tell her what is going on. And she comes off like, you can trust me. You can tell me anything, is what she tells both of them at separate times alone. So she's trying to get their trust alone, separately. Keep that in mind. I feel like that's going to be extremely important going into season 5 if any of this ends up being true. And then you have her involvement at Joyce's house, which is the only other time we see her in those first 3 episodes. Is she ends the game, she's the first to get that call, and then she goes and investigates what happens. If she's trying to get more info, that's what she would do. She would do something that would involve her to have to stay there longer, right? Well, that gets interrupted because of Holly, right? And Holly, we already know, is gonna have involvement with season 5 due to the recasting. Keep this all in mind, is that's when Holly almost got taken and saw something, being the Demogorgon coming out of the wall. So we know that was the Demogorgon. She gets led into Will's room, and then that happens, okay? But interrupted by Joyce, and then Karen doesn't really have a reaction to that, and then stops Holly from telling Joyce anything farther. It's a little odd. So, with all that being said, we have those major parts. This is part one of the Karen Wheeler poster theory. Okay. It's the first breakdown of many. I'm going to continue working on this as well as the other theories. I'm working on all of the other theories as we speak. I'm working on the other parts of Kali is the villain, part 3, and Mama is Alice, part 3. Those are separate theories. I had a comment about what about the ant? The ant is going to have her own theory that will connect to the Mama theory, but I want to make her own theory based off of Little Miss Aunt Becky, okay? The liar. Oh, sorry, not that liar, this one. So, with that being said, we got those coming out, and then I want to branch off of the Max is the Flea one. A lot of people like that one, but I need to figure out ways of how we can do that because we don't know a lot about Max, where she's at right now. We obviously aren't going to know any of that until season 5. Okay, so that might be when that theory gets solved right away. I'm going to see if I could work out ways to figure that out with Scenes with Max to see if she is. But I believe the Dig Dug theory that didn't get a lot of attention involving Max and that one actually connect in ways. So if you didn't check either of those out, make sure you do because those ones have an extreme importance with where we're going with other things too. Okay, so with that being said, make sure you check out all the other videos. This was part 1 of many. Trust me. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and keep following the journey. Much love. It's your boy Brandon, DLA Alternative. And as always, we out.